I'm listening to this powerful podcast and I had to pull over because it's such a beautiful, beautiful day. And I wanted to explore these thoughts that I'm having, these thoughts around our alignment with our conditioned identity and the consequences of that belief system. So you and I, when we're born these magnificent, interconnected, knowing beings, not knowing in terms of wisdom, but knowing in terms of our connection to innocence and trust and capacity to just be here on this planet at this time. Like we surrender to the world, right? Like we surrender to the world to take care of us. We believe fundamentally, otherwise we wouldn't choose to be here and we would constantly be crying or not wanting to be here. But we believe on some level that we're loved, we're cherished, we're adored, and we're going to be taken care of. So we descend into a world of matter, and we descend into a world of matter to a particular set of parents within a particular community with a particular set of beliefs within a particular global context. So all of that will shift who you and I identify with. So if I'm a female born in Albania, in communist Albania in 1987, which I am, I'm going to be born into a particular context that, for example, normalizes brutality, normalizes violence, normalizes domestic violence, and control over. So in that community, I would grow up believing that being intelligent and able to solve people's problems and able to align myself with the right people at the right time would be imperative to my survival. And I would be very mindful that my role as a female is less than that of a male, even though everything in my body is screaming otherwise. And potentially I would be Muslim or I could be Catholic, and I would have the parameters of mind that are associated with that particular mindset. Now, if I were born in medieval times, right, I would have, as you might imagine, a very different understanding of who I am and what I am and my purpose on this planet at this time. So when we are born and we're taught to live in alignment with a cultural identity, that cultural identity comes with profound limitations, perceptual limitations, bodily limitations, right? Because our bodies are screaming for expansion, but we're told, no, you don't go there, right? You shut that down, you repress it, compress it, put it aside, whatever. You be a good girl, right? You please your family and your husband, and you just do those things, and then we'll take care of you. So when we spend our whole lives identifying with that version of ourselves that was never the real version of who we actually are, what happens is we get lost. Oh, somebody's stopping a good Samaritan to help me. I'm okay. Thank you. That's nice. Living in the country, this is what it does. I'm just chilling, dude, enjoying the weather, chatting. So when we align, like that guy felt he was doing a wonderful thing, potentially because I'm female, standing here and deserted, a damsel in distress that needs to be saved, potentially, or potentially he would stop no matter who it was. I don't know. But when I identified with, I'll talk about myself, and I work with women, so I see this every single day, and it's this phenomenal experience to be able to be with them in their evolution. So for myself, when I identified with that version of myself, I felt profoundly broken, insufficient. I felt profoundly incapable. I felt I was brilliant. Straight A student my whole life, and scholarships, and working in rape crisis centers, and policy, and all of these wonderful things that were supposed to bring me a good life. They didn't. Instead, I ended up in psychiatric hospitals, drugged to oblivion, and addicted to drugs, etc. And so my life was really miserable because I knew that wasn't who I was. It was so confined. It was so constricted that the only place I ended up was in domestic violence and, like I said, all these other things. So when I discovered that there's an alternative way to live, and this was a process. I started at 18 years old because I knew my life as it had been was not working. So at 18 years old, I began to get curious about yoga and, Eastern philosophies and Buddhism and all sorts of different things. And then that took me down a trajectory of discovering that I am not this body. So here's the thing. If I'm not this body, then what am I? So now I've come to discover the animating life force of this body, not the breath, which is the mechanism through which the body and the animating life force connect and dance, this beautiful dance together, but the animating life force itself, the quantum world, this beautiful, infinite, eternal feedback loop of life evolving. So when we identify with that aspect of ourselves, we're going to be in fear. Right? That's the predominant driver. Fear and lack of connection and uncertainty and all of the things that comes with. And it's just part of the package. When we begin to discover that we're not that, and we begin to make choices that are driven from and through our body, because it is our body that guides us. It's our body that guides us to that which is real and true, because that's its purpose. The only purpose of this body is to be the quantum biological processing device. So we know that as a fact. So the body processes information just like it does at the physical level with food. It processes information that we might label emotions, and it processes information that we label information. So your thoughts, everything that moves through you, your body is able to process it because that's its job. So if my body is processing this information, if my body is processing the information, who's the one giving it the information? In this process, and it is a process, we notice that as we live this way, in order to discover what we are, we have to be willing to constantly be letting go who we're not. So if I want to discover who I am as my emerging authentic self, not the culturally conditioned self, not the self that comes with the rules and regulations of the culture, but the self that is real and true and authentic, and that is a process of unfolding. But if I want to discover that version of me, that aspect of me, the essence of me, I have to be willing to let go of the aspects of me that are not me. And what I've come to discover, and my roundabout way of getting to this point, is that moment that is ongoing, right? There's different moments, but that moment feels like a death. It feels like a death because it is. It's the death of a version of you that kept you safe in some way when you were 4 and you outgrew it. That was, but now isn't. And so in an effort to discover what you are, you must be willing to let go of what you are not. And that process is so freaking hard that so many people continue to hang on to an old version of themselves that they know they've outgrown, knowing that that's not who they are. And that will kill you, because that creates a dis-ease, a disconnection, and a dis-ease inside your being, because you know you're not living in alignment with your truth. You're not living in alignment with who you know yourself capable of becoming. And when you know there's more to you, and not everybody does, but when you know that there's more to you and you don't choose it, it's like a very different kind of death, and a very slow and painful kind of death. So if you're on the cusp of questioning and you're on the cusp of uncertainty and you're listening to, cool alternative podcasts and people sharing their perspectives on human evolution, continue to do that. And when you're ready to engage for the purposes of transformation, consider for yourself downloading the Decloaking and Living Authentically audio files from the Well Systems Institute. The reason for that is because that introduces you to a process of thinking, a process of being in the tough moments inside yourself, and it introduces you to language that you can leverage the information to be in flow, and it teaches you a process that you can actually allow that information to be in flow without being afraid of it. So that's all I have to say. If you're on the cusp of a death, I encourage you to lean into it, right? The death of your old way of being, and that is ongoing. But if you're on the cusp of that, I encourage you to lean into that because it is so beautiful. It is so spectacular on the other side. And in order to get to the beauty, you must go through the grinding process of noticing what it is, integrating it in the body, inviting and allowing it to be in flow, integrating the truth of that in the body, and letting go. So, like a snake shedding its skin, right? The snake could not have new skin, could not develop new skin if it doesn't first get rid of the old. So I encourage you right here, right now, there's no better time than this moment to really delve into your self, your true self, the emergence of your true self, and begin to intentionally let go of what no longer serves you. Your life will improve, and so will the life of the people that you touch, because you are, and so will the life of the people you touch, because you are a thought virus. You spread in the quantum field, you spread the essence of you and what you know, and your aura and your energy spreads. And so the more aligned you are with yourself, the more congruent you are with yourself, the more effective you are at navigating the world and at having impact on the world.